So what is an algorithmic problem, right? What we're going to talk about quite a bit during this course. And the way to think about it is that we have a function. We want to compute a function. There is some input, string if you want, and we want to compute some function that maps it to another string. An algorithm solves the problem if it computes the function of interests. Right. Okay. Now, the important thing is that there are several types of problems that we'll be interested in solving. The most basic one, and the one that we use when we want to think about complexity, or, things like languages and so on, is the decision problem. Right? The decision problem is the easiest version of a problem. Given an input, you have to say yes or no. Right? When we talked about languages, it was, is this string in the language or not? Right? So that's pretty simple. And for example, problems of this type can be given two vertices in the graph. Is there a path between those two vertices? The answer is either yes or no. Okay. The next level above it is the search problem, right? Which says, don't only say yes or no, but give me a solution to the problem, right? So for example, for this graph example of two vertices and deciding if there is a path between them in the graph, I don't really care whether or not there is a path. If there is a path, I would like to have such a path connecting S to T. Right? So this is the search problem, and the reason it's called the search problem is because there is potentially a huge space of possible candidate solutions, and you want one of them that is valid, right? You are searching for the solution. Okay, optimization is the next level. Optimization says, oh well, we have a graph, we have two vertices in it in the graph. Find the shortest path between the two vertices. Right, so don't just give me a path between them, but give me the shortest path. And clearly, those problems goes downward in hardness, right? Decision is easier than search, and it's easier than optimization. Now, the reason why we kind of think about them as equivalent is because computationally they tend to be almost equivalent. And by almost equivalent, I mean that if you can solve one, you can usually solve the other, maybe with a small slowdown of logarithmic factor or some shown in the running time, but very slow slowdown. So if you can solve the decision problem, you can usually solve the optimization problem. So this allows us to work on the decision problem when we want to analyze the complexity class of the problem, but usually in real life, we are usually interested in the optimization version of a problem. And a rule of thumb is that almost any optimization problem is interesting because it requires, finding the best solution among other solutions, while, decisions and search problem are kind of less interesting at some meta level. Okay. Now, given an algorithmic problem P, we would like to come up with an algorithm that solves it. It has to be correct. So correctness, we will care about correctness of algorithm quite a bit. We will care about the running time, but only in the asymptotic sense, because exact running time with constant is not something we are worried about. And the definition of asymptotic running time is that essentially usually we would like to have an upper bound that says the running time is at most this function of n multiplied by some constant, right? So, sorting, the running time is at most takes 10, maybe 100 n log n operation for input of size n. This is an upper bound. And it's asymptotic, right? It's holds when any, we don't really care about the constant here. Asymptotic means that the constant doesn't matter. This is the O notation. Of course, in real life, we will care about the constant sometimes. And more importantly, we don't just want an arbitrary upper bound. Right? If we just want an upper bound, we can always say, 2 to the 2 to the 2 to the n. And this definitely bound the running time of sorting, but that's not a useful upper bound. So usually you would like to have an upper bound that are close to tight, they're close to the real number of operations performed by the algorithm, and we will judge an algorithm as better than the other if an algorithm has better asymptotic running time than the other algorithm. Okay, so we're going to talk about various algorithmic techniques like divide and conquer, recursion, of course, greedy algorithms, and of course there is a huge amount of techniques that are not going to be covered because, by now there is vast literature on algorithms. Nobody even knows all the algorithms out there. So we are going to just touch the topic, literally, skim the melting water on top of the melting iceberg because of global warming. So it's really going to be only a taste of the techniques. And there are a lot of other techniques we will not touch, especially things like network flow, linear programming, rounding, approximations, etc., etc., etc. And if you're in the end of this class feel like you want to know more, there are a lot of follow-up classes you can take. The first one, of course, is 473, and then there are various other classes like randomized algorithms and so on. Okay, this is it for now.